Good morning, midnight coders. There we go. Ah, good morning and welcome to another video or live stream with myself, Blabe, and this is another one on the Midnight Technician. I've been sort of MIA the last week, due to my health. I wound up in the hospital for about a week, where I had some time to ponder and thought. And if you caught my last short, that may or may not have been where my hospital reference came from. So, um, I I did some work once I got out. Um, I added in some extra stuff to our midnight technician. There is now a way to hello and welcome to the chat, my friend. Thank you for logging in. I'm feeling much better now that I'm out of the hospital. Actually, part of the reason I end up in the hospital is the reason why I'm doing YouTube, and it's the reason why I cannot work a full-time job. I am diabetic, and due to my diabetes and being extremely out of control for years, I've got nerve damage. It started out in just my legs. I lost the feeling in my legs and retaught myself how to walk in my early 20s. And then again in my early 30s, seems like it hits me in the decades. In my 30s, I began this gastroparesis, or like paralysis of the stomach. And it's pretty nasty little disease that means that my digestive tract doesn't work like a normal person. So if I just eat food, muscles don't work, nerves don't sensor to tell it to do its job, and it's kind of like a microservice having a message queue that doesn't work. The other services just don't know what's going on. My body doesn't know when it's hungry, doesn't know when I overeat, doesn't know when it's time to eat. So like if I eat food, it doesn't start digesting properly. So like my body can just wind up. No, dude, I'm mid 30s, dude. I'm 35. Appreciate you saying that I look like I'm 20. I appreciate that. But no, I got a friend of mine who, if you ever heard the old saying, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. I got a buddy of mine that wanted to try to teach me how to use AI code and teach me how to do some like vibe coding. I don't know. My idea of vibe coding is throwing on Spotify, listening to some good music, and just going. But my friend wanted me to teach me this thing about vibe coding, and he started to reference me as a baby boomer because I just he sees me as this older like intellectual dude that it's funny. It's funny. But yeah, unfortunately, I wind up in the hospital, which is why you may see me disappear for a couple of days on YouTube. Um, and I wind up in the hospital where it becomes very difficult. I get because my food doesn't, my digestive tract doesn't work, so my food just sits there and kind of rots for a minute, for a minute in the stomach acids and waits for gravity to pull it through. So like pureed foods and like diet kind of helps me. I've been suffering with it for about 4 years. I used to make weekly trips to the ER. Weekly. Yeah, that was crazy. And now I'm in there anywhere from once a month to once every other month. So I'm getting progress of not being in the hospital, but I do unfortunately wind up in there quite a bit. So what's up, Donkey? Welcome to the chat, dude. And unfortunately, due to my health issues, I can't work a day job because regular employees or employers do not like that I can be perfectly fine one moment and then disappear the next. Like Friday, my wife made some great supper, and I sort of kind of maybe may have overeaten a little bit. But then on top of that, I was feeling a little bit tired, so I went to bed a little earlier than normal, and the food sat in my stomach all night. So come the morning, I started getting violently sick, and once I get sick, I can't stop. I get dehydrated because of that. My ketones in my blood sugars go up through the roof, and I wind up into this thing called diabetic ketoacidosis, which is a whole other nightmare to be in. And so then I go from being violently sick to also being violently sick and DKA. And I'm at that point, I am in the hospital with multiple IVs, and it's a hassle. It's a nightmare, but it's a good place to be after I get healed. But that is usually why I am MIA for so long in between, and it is also why there has been no status update, chat, jitter, or anything from me in a week, because I went into the ER and then I got moved up to the maternity floor of all places because I'm totally maternal. And I then spent an evening up there before I got moved down to the ICU. And I spent a, a day or 2 days in the ICU before I then got transferred to the med floor, which is just where like you would go to um, kind of be recovery from like surgeries or recovery from the ER or whatever. Like it's kind of like the recovery-ish floor, the medicine floor. So I finally spent the night there before I was well enough to get out. But um, yeah, so I really appreciate you guys that stick around and have followed me for years and have been with me through the thick and thin of my hospital visits. And those of you that have been here this long, I appreciate you. Here's a big thumbs up to you guys. For those of you that are joining the journey of me and are just getting to know my inner quirks, I unfortunately get sick from time to time and disappear into the hospital. My wife does tend to update my Discord when I go in, so if you are wondering where I am, what's going on, chances are there's a message in Discord from my wife or from one of the staff members of the Midnight Coders, um, just relaying where I'm at, and if I'm healthy enough, I'll usually put up a post myself letting people know that I'm okay. Um, but yeah, getting that all wrapped up and out of the way. My health issue is sort of what also inspired my um, my little metaphor that I used for referencing microservices to hospitals. Um, because let's face it, for those of you that know me, like Donkey in the chat, hospitals are sort of a second home for me, unfortunately. Which is also why I'm grateful to be Canadian, because I quite frankly couldn't afford that in the States. Um, but let's not turn this into politics. So, back into the Midnight Technician. I've done up some invoicing, so I added a billing module. So now when a technician or an employee closes a ticket, um, there will be an invoice generated based on the services that were requested on the ticket. Um, I haven't done a video highlighting that yet, but I think I will in the future. We're using PayPal as our payment processor. We are um, so the idea that I wanted was when somebody finishes a ticket, there would be an invoice that would get generated. That invoice would get saved to a database. The information about it and the status of it would get saved. Um, we would use the payment processor to handle it all. So your view URL goes directly through the payment processor of PayPal in our situation. Very easy to swap out to something else like Stripe or another payment processor of your choice, or even do your own handling however you however you see that fit. That's just a little outside of the scope of what I was looking to get into. So I have it so that once a invoice is completed, a message gets sent off to the Kafka topics. A consumer on the billing side pulls from that topic and says, "Okay, we've got a ticket that was closed. Let's create a bill for it." So it creates an invoice based on the service ID that was provided. I have all sorts of, and you know what? Let's just get my face out of here and let's kind of walk through it in code a little bit. Might be easier to visualize for those of us that aren't. Okay. Sorry, been a minute. Forgot what I'm doing. Okay, let's get rid of big me. Bring up this. Bring up little me. Maybe. Little me. There we go. I'm here. Oh, yes. The music. The music. The music. Let me switch, because I got a different playlist going. I forgot about that myself. So let's randomize this bad boy. Turn on my background music. And this is just a straight up list that I pulled directly from YouTube. I just downloaded a few non-copyright songs that I could throw on in the background. If you don't like the music, I will definitely try better for the next video. Or if you have any like suggestions, by all means, let me know, and I will do better for future videos. All right, so let's take a little dive into the billing. So up here, I added the new billing module, and if we dive into the resources, here's some properties. So down here, and how do I do this on IntelliJ again? You know, say Control Shift. And, oh, it's been so long since I've had to do this. How do I change the font to make this a little bit bigger? I don't think I've ever changed the font on my thing. We go bigger? How? If I do 24, is that going to be too big? Maybe I'll try 18. No, we'll try 20. We'll try 20. I'll just have to try to remember to set this back when I come back. What? It did nothing. It did nothing. Okay, I did something wrong. So we'll set you back to 12. Where in the hell? Sorry guys, I'm trying to make the text bigger. If any of you know how to make the text bigger in IntelliJ, like, I honestly thought it was just the font. I figured it would have just been here. Okay, wait a minute. Current editor font is 14. What? Okay, okay, so here's where I change it. Let's try this. 18. Is that bigger? There we go. 18's a bit bigger. Okay. All right. Hopefully this is going to be a bit bigger for you guys to see on the live stream. Sorry about that. Also, if it helps you in the live stream, let me know so that I can also start doing my recorded videos with the text a little bit bigger. I always forget. Always, all the time. So in here, I've got this is our section for our PayPal information. So up here is the start of our PayPal invoicing. It is where we're telling it whether we are in a production environment or if we are in a sandbox. So for development purposes, we're in our sandbox because we like to make a mess and not watch people cry in production when we make a mess. So in here, we have some environment variables that I've added for the PayPal client and secret. You can get those from PayPal's developer portal. Very easy. I can make a video on how to set all of that up as well in the future. And then down here, we've got some currency settings or some billing settings. So here we set the currency. I'm Canadian, so I set it to the Canadian dollar. You could very easily set that up to be. Thank you very much, Anna, for telling me the font's good. I'm gonna keep trying. I'm gonna keep use of that for the future. So in here, I'm telling it the currency that we're going to be using for the billing. I'm telling it some of the extra taxing configurations. So here I'm enabling taxes for my province in Canada. Here we use the HST or the horseshit tax. It's not technically that, but it's 15%. So you kind of see why I call it that. And then down here we have some merchant information. So the merchant information is specific to the Midnight Technician or like your branding. So here we provide a name and an email address. The email address I just provided was the sandbox version of a business email from PayPal. You can again get that in the video, and if you'd like to see a video on how to set it all up and get like the billing side set, let me know and I'll scratch something together this week about how I got it all set up, where I got all my tokens and everything. The phone number does need to be set the way it is because it does get formatted to a string, and I'll show you later where we parse it. So it does actually have to be like the 1 and the following with the correct amount of digits. It doesn't really matter if you have the 8, if you have like the area code, it's surrounded in brackets. It doesn't matter if you have the hyphens. It just simply matters that you have a plus and you have the correct amount of digits. You need an address, area, place, postal, country code, and then down here last you can provide a logo if you want to stick your like an image on the, I think it's the top left corner of the bill of the invoice with PayPal does it. But if we jump into our configurations, our Kafka configurations, our Mongo configurations, REST client, and website are all basically the same. So the only thing in here that we have that's new or interesting is the billing, which through this configuration property annotation that Spring provides, we can tell it that we want a prefix of billing as our thing. So let me bring this up so it makes more sense. So in here, you'll see that everything that I did down here starts with billing.currency, billing.tax.enabled, billing.tax.label. Now, the reason I did that was so that in here, we configure this. I configured this property so that the billing properties starts out with billing and then takes currency. So the billing's currency is billing.currency right here equal to the string that is provided. And then down here, we're setting up tax and we're setting up merchant. So inside of tax, which is now down here, we have enabled, label, rate, and inclusion, or inclusive, which is also, you'll see here, tax.billing.tax.this, and then billing.merchant.that. Like there is the reason that I followed that, and that is because I started this by telling the configuration property the prefix is billing, and then I don't have to use I don't actually have to jump in and use the @value annotation to start specifying what each and every individual value is for all of these fields. I just simply have to tell the first one here that this is how it starts, and the rest is just basic syntax, as long as you follow the same syntax that you type out here. So currency, and I have this labeled as tax, so my next class has to be, and just to be clear, just because this says billing.tax does not mean that tax could be tax. I could have called this taxes and left this variable as tax, so long as this variable's name is right. That's how it's going to access this billing.currency or billing.tax. Then it goes into the variables of it. And I hope that makes sense of how it gets billing.tax.enabled. And I hope that makes sense for how that is flowing. So that is the billing properties and how we basically set up all the billing information. And then if we go into PayPal's config, we are simply providing in our client secret. And again, I could have done this with a configuration being again of just setting it up as PayPal dot something and just changed. But again, this is just your generic how you would have done it prior to that. And you see here that I'm just setting up a client ID, a secret, and telling it what mode we're running in. And there is some optional configurations that we could have provided in here, which I can go into a little bit later. If anybody has any sort of questions they want to pop in the comments, by all means, do so, and I will address that when I make the video later this week about setting up the PayPal configuration and running over more specifics about it. Next from here, if we take a look, the security aspect of this module is the same as the others. And then we pop into our billing. Now, our billing section has more of our service repo model and whatnots in here. I probably could have packaged this better, but in here we have two clients which just simply make external calls to grab the customer's the customer DTO and a service DTO, so that we have a record of who the person is that's getting billed and what the service is that is getting billed for. We have controllers, so that the other thing I did was add an admin dashboard so that we can see this. Hit me up on Discord for some questions that you have about that. I can about the DSA algorithm and Java 8 features that you want questioned on. When I started Java, I started on Java 3 or Java 4. I got into Java in a very, very early stage, and I stayed on 8 for at least a decade. I've toyed with it for quite a while. So yeah, shoot me a message on Discord, and we'll talk a little bit about that if you'd like, or even just drop some comments in the video if you'd like others to, if you think others might have the same questions. Just sorry, I don't mean to like kind of cut that short or like dismiss you. I just don't want to diverge too far on the live stream. I've got an attention span of a squirrel as it is, so I'll diverge if you drag me. I'm kind of like my husky, my dog. If he gets out, wherever his nose is, that's where he goes. So like if you pull my attention to the left, I'm gonna follow you. All right, so jumping back into the consumer or the invoice controller, this is set up because I have also set up a manager's, or not a manager, sorry, an owner's dashboard as well. So the owners now have a page they can go to get some heads up information about invoices, schedules, and finally where they can set, edit, simply change services that they offer. So for now, in here is just a basic ticket controller, which does some relatively simple CRUD activities, as well as you can see where I am taking in some parameters such as a date and time, so that I can specify, and this is just me requesting a parameter. The parameter's name is from, and then I'm telling it that it has to be a date time format, and I'm providing the ISO of date time that I want, and I'm just saying that it is, of course, a Java instance. Or instant, sorry. So that's the only fancy thing that I'm doing here, is just that I'm requiring a parameter of from and to be provided of formatting to be date time references. So, yeah, and then we have a webhook controller, which just again allows PayPal to send us a hook whenever something happens, like when an invoice gets paid. Then we can update our records locally inside of our own databases. We also have our Kafka listeners, so that we can have when our billing events happen, as well as invoices. This is again just for database tracking and whatnot, and analytics. We've got an invoice mapper, which is just a simple DTO mapper that I stuck outside here. Nothing fancy, just a mapper. Into the model, we have our actual invoice. So this is the document that we're sticking into Mongo database. So this is all the data here that we're sticking into Mongo. And as a reference of what that looks like, we can pop into here and we can see that we've got one, so that this is what it looks like. It's got an invoice ID. It is an invoice document. We can see when it was created, the currency, who it was being created for. Apparently I'm sticking that in there twice and I didn't mean to. Whoops. So then we've got the invoice number itself, which is Midnight Technician dash the date dash ticket ID, just to keep it unique. And then of course we've got the rest of our information that we're selling, as well as we have this view URL, which is the address that you can go to view the actual sandbox invoice, which is where the customer would go to pay the invoice. But I can show you that in just a moment. I will send you a friend request on Discord. You should have been able to message me, but just because we share the same Discord, but just give me 1 second here. I'm going to add you here, and I believe I added you. You are Key, I believe. I just sent you a little wave. Let me know if I got the right person. Alright, so outside of the mapper and the two controllers, we then just have our repo, which has multiple ways of finding invoices, as well as finding them between certain dates. Our services, we have an invoice service. This is where we build our beautiful... Let me get some of this out of the way so we can see stuff. So in here is where we go through and handle all of the all of the invoice service, as far as generating it, making it, marking it paid, marking it this, that, and yada yada. So up here is just the redundant stuff for getting in injecting all of my stuff so that we have it. And invoice DTO is where we create and send. So now this could have been broken down into separate methods, but here's where we go through and we create. We try to find an existing one. If one is present, we don't do it because there's one that exists. Next, we go through and we give some enriched data. So here's where we grab the service, we grab the customer so we know who we have, and we also have the service ID. We then grab the currencies and the price and the formatter so that we can subtotal everything. We come down and we build an invoice here so that we can define, and these are actual PayPal's invoice, not an invoice that we have. We have an invoice document, not an invoice object. So these are the PayPal objects that we're taking in to fill out the information for. This could have also been something that we stored in a property as like a note to the person. You can get a little more personal. I just wanted to say thanks. In here, we build the item. This is the actual single service that they built. Maybe in the future, we'll add it so that they can give us a couple of quests or a couple of services, because maybe they need one service like diagnostics, but then we find out that they need to get a hardware switch or they need to get something else. Or so maybe we'll expand this in the future so that a service ticket can have multiple services added to it, and then we will revisit this in the future. But then we just simply come through and we set up the sales tax if there is any. We'll go through and set up the items to the invoice. We'll set up the created date to the invoice. And then, or sorry, not created date. Here's where we're actually creating the invoice itself. And this is where we're going to send it. Now, this is sending it via PayPal. So this is using PayPal's invoice to send it. So this is where, again, it's going to get handled through the PayPal gateway, and they're going to send them an email saying that there is an invoice, yada, yada. Down here is where we're going to persist everything that happened, and we build our own invoice document that we're going to save, and then we're going to return the DTO version of this, which is the DTO version of the one that we just created. Now, once an invoice is created, we also have other ways here to find them and to mark them paid once PayPal's webhook returns that they have been paid. And again, we update our local record, setting the status. And then we have ways to find the ticket. We have ways to get a summary of tickets between, a revenue summary, which is, I probably could have stuck this into a revenue service, and I may very well do so before I finish this. But these two were meant to be for the revenue aspect of getting, which you'll see it when we get to the dashboard side of things. And down here we have the merchant information where we're building out the merchant properties. So in here, this only gets set if the phone number is valid that I was talking about before. I was doing this with setup, and I forgot to set the phone number properly, so I actually wound up getting a few different null pointer exceptions. So I decided to come through here and make sure to do some verifications that there's not nulls. I could just mark the class as null marked, which should take care of it. But old dog, new trick. So I'm still learning that. But for now, I'm just doing typical redundancy checks, or null safe redundancy checks, making sure that the phone number's not blank, making sure that it matches a predefined number of digits, making sure that it's greater than 10, and making sure that the country code does exist in it if it doesn't come with it, so to speak. And then I'm also adding out a whole bunch of logs. We set up the address, and then we return the merchant after we've set up their information and contact. Finally, we set up some billing information. We generate an invoice number, which again goes by the midnight technician, hyphen the date, hyphen the ticket that we are attaching. And then finally down here, this is where we build the view URL or the view address or like the URL that we saw in the database. So here it takes the base, which is PayPal's, and again, this would be based off of which mode we're in, whether it be develop our sandbox mode or production. This can very much be set in from the billing properties. I'm just by default making it sandbox. And of course, we can change that up how we want, and we just return the invoice link. So now, let's take a look and see kind of what that looks like. Let's go over here. I'm going to log into my Midnight Technician site. I'm going to pick this. Nope, not that ticket. That ticket went sideways. Why did that go sideways? What about the other one? Okay. So this one here looks like it is a diagnostic. So we're going to claim this ticket. Spit out a note just because. And then I want to close the ticket. So if I close the ticket, an invoice gets generated, magic happens, and the customer, well, I don't have a way for them to see it in here yet, but the customer will get emailed about a ticket. And if we pop back into our invoices, we now see that there is a second invoice that has been generated. And it looks like it was generated subtotal of $40, tax of $6 for a grand total of $46, and a view URL. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So now let me open up my email on another screen so that I can pop this bad boy out, drag it over here. So in here, this is what we as the Midnight Technicians email the customer. We send them an invoice. An invoice was created. Hello, your invoice was created. This can be changed. And the invoice number is this, and we tell them what their grand total is. They can either click the link down here if this button does not work. So if you click the button, it's just simply going to take you to PayPal's way to pay for the invoice. And this is what gets presented to you or emailed off to your customer, and they get the full details about what it is, who's billing it. We're billing to. This would be the customer. Billing from comes from the Midnight Technician. Again, this is just my sandbox email at 123 Fake Street, Canada. And if we had an image that I talked about, the image would be up here in the little icon spot that looks like a sales merchant. But yeah, they can see here the tax was HST of 15%, yada yada, everything gets broken down. Again, this is just one payment processor to do it. There are others out there, but this was just one way to do it, and this was just the way that I happen to have implemented my billing system. So the website side, not a whole lot changed. We're still shooting the messages out once the invoice gets created. And I do see that just saw your direct message. I will read through that once the stream is finished. I'll read through that and I'll reach out to you if I have any questions. I'm just gonna call you Key, because I don't want to screw your name up. I forget what you originally told me to call you, and Key seems easier than butchering. Yeah, I'm not gonna butcher your name. I'm bad with names as it is, and I don't want to offend. I mean, honestly, you'll probably just laugh at me trying to butcher your name, but so the other thing that I added was the owner's dashboard. Um, so as you can see here on the left, owner dashboard gives you the month that this is the billing month that we're going through, and this is the total revenue for this month. So how many things have been paid. Now this down here is a graph that's used by Chart.js. It's actually just a JavaScript that you can pull in and just kind of punch in some data and get a nice looking chart there. So what I did here was I made it so that we can get a revenue chart to see the days and what gets more money than other days, based on the days of the week, or days of the month. Now, all of that I will show you where we're pulling that in from. I just happen to have come into this backwards. So again, the top part is for the month that we're in, the selected month. Tells you how much have you made this month, shows you kind of a visual of how much you've made, and then down here is outstanding or unpaid invoices. So here you can see I've got 2 invoices because I've done this twice, and you can see just how much that I should be expecting to be making. I've sold $42 or $62 in services. I've got almost $10 in taxes, and I'm expecting about $71. I can see the list of my the invoices down here, and I can see the status of them is sent. And I even have the view URL so that I can click it and go to it here as well. But for now, it goes right to here. However, I do intend to make this go to a page similar to this where you can view it and see sort of the history, that we keep of it, not the history that PayPal is keeping. As well, down below that, I have a way for the owner to see who is on shift today, as well as seeing the week ahead to see who's on for the shift. Followed by a section for services, so that people can simply click on edit and go through to change up the name, description, whatever of, or even the price of whatever it is, and then simply save changes. Everything's good. Maybe you want to delete a service, we can delete a service. We want to add a new service, we can add a new one, give it a name, information. When we save it, it'll pop out a new number. If we want to view the full schedule, we can just click on here, pop over into the manager's view so we can do some scheduling edits. But that is basically the owner's view in a nutshell, which is pieced together rather poorly, in my opinion. I don't like how I've got all the dashboards into one dashboard area. And I see that this threw my variables off a little bit when I scaled this up. But the owner's dashboard down here, it pulls in the revenue summary, all unpaid, all of the invoices for the month. Oh, sorry, this is the unpaid summary, and the paid summaries. Sorry, 2 of them. And then there's the month's invoices, so the invoices that have been paid, and then the invoices that have not been paid. And then we build up all of our information and maps that we're looking to pass in to the model. And then down here we pass everything into our model, which goes off to our massive our HTML file, which is just a typical HTML file with Time Leaf helping me out. Also, the JavaScript is also cooked in here as well, which I could probably externalize. Not 100% sure why it got cooked in here, why I did that. Can't remember. No, that's right. I didn't do it. I asked AI to build this UI for me. That's why it's in here and not in a JavaScript file. Alright. Well, whatever. I'm not that worried about pulling it out, to be honest. So yeah, that's basically all that I did for the Midnight Technician over the last 2 days, literally a couple days that I've been out of the hospital. But I did want to get this video out to show you guys what was going on and explain a little bit about my absence. I changed up the tabs on the top so they're a little more descriptive. So the user's profile or the customer's profile, they'll just see profile now instead of seeing dashboard. The employees now see employee view versus seeing, I think it was just ticket view. Manager and owner now say applicable things. I need to get the monthly report going here as well, which is supposed to go off to a similar page, except going to have a little bit less information than this, or it's pretty much just going to have like the top bit and the invoices on a cleaner view. So I'm probably going to make this into a fragment so that I can reuse it on another page. I don't like that this one feels, it might just be my dark reader. This one feels different than this page. You can tell the pages that I built and then the page that AI built. I wish it would have stuck with my similar themes for things, but like, whatever. Probably would have made similar card styles, but smaller for this. Anyway, now I'm trying to figure out where I want to go forward with this. So like in my next videos and streams or whatever, where I want to go with the Midnight Technician, because I feel like it's pretty much at that point where it's basically done, and the only thing I can do from here is kind of nitpick out the other things for best practices and principles, and I may be diverging into a new project for my next few videos, which is also something I'm going to need some ideas for. I've got a couple of ideas on what I can do, and I might go to them, but as for the Midnight Technician, this guy is pretty much getting wrapped up. It's a fairly well done little project. I might see about getting it I might see about getting this one hosted on a cheap VPS, just so that people can see what it looks like as a project. Honestly, you're talking about a to-do list. I actually did something similar. I did it as a Discord bot, where you could be in Discord and just use a command /to-do, and you would add a new item to your to-do list. You could view the to-do lists on there. And I was thinking about making a website that you could go to, sign in with Discord, and see all of your, so like you would use single sign-on feature to sign in with Discord, and we would log in, and then it would pull all of your to-do lists into like a visual that you could see on the browser versus one that you could play with in the Discord bot. What are your thoughts on making like a community Discord bot web app to-do list that we can all sort of pick at together? Like what are your guys' thoughts on that? Like would that be pretty fun or? Oh no, I will write this out as basic. Like we're obviously going to use like I want to use Java 25 and I want to use I would like to use sort of the latest tech so that we could do it in a sandbox way so that people can learn the newer features. But I mean, I'm also all for writing a dead easy Java 8 to-do list standalone application. We can write it in a Swing app, or not Swing. I'll never write Swing again. Java FX. But I mean, have you ever I'm sorry guys, I'm getting diverged again, and now I'm talking to the audience. If you're watching this video after the stream, I don't know if the chat goes with it, but right now I'm chatting with the chat. So if you don't see it, I apologize. One of our guys here is suggesting a to-do bot or a to-do list application. My plans for tomorrow about streaming. I have absolutely no plans as of right now, but I would be totally down to jump in a stream and start writing from scratch a to-do thing. Honestly, like again, if you'd like to do just a straight out web browser, yeah, how do you want to do it? Let fuck it, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's make a community to-do list. How do you want to go about it? Do you want it to be something that's viewable from a browser, like somebody just goes to localhost and they get this list of to-dos, or like do you want them to or do you want it to be like a Discord bot so that you and your friends can invite a bot to your Discord or your group chat and like start using commands with it, like slash to do or like whatever. How do you want it to be, or how do you foresee it being interacted with? Okay, so you don't want something that. Sorry if I misunderstood what you said there. Are you telling me that you don't want something that is straightforward and simple? You'd like something that's a little bit more involved? Okay, you'd like something web-based. Okay, we can do that. We can do a simple Spring application, lightweight, that people can just go to your local host and okay. 100% I can mix up Discord into that later. Okay. 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 I got something cooking in my mind. So, you want something that's kind of a browser-based thing where they can. Now, how do you want to persist it to them? Because if we're going to introduce Discord later, a Discord bot later, I'm going to need a way for people to sync it. So they're going to need. Yeah, a simple UI, but if somebody's going to go to the website to make a to-do list, they're going to need a way to keep track of their profile. So we're going to need a way for them to log in once they get to the website, so that way we know who it is that we're pulling to-dos for. So you're trying to, I'm sorry if I'm getting a little confused here. You want to build the UI aspect of everything first and then worry about a login feature later? Because you should be thinking more about, if you're going to be creating something for users, you're going to have a user profile in order to keep track of who is who. So what's going to keep Joe Blow from John Wayne from somebody else? Like, who's going to separate who each person is? Well, yeah, no, I'm not even considering the Discord integration now. Just a straight up, if you want to do a to-do list on a website, you're going to need some way for people to log in so that we can recognize whose to-do list it is that we're pulling up for who. That makes sense? Right. You write out a brief little explanation there in the chat there for me. I'm going to fill up my coffee cup because it's getting a little cold, and I'll be right back in just a second. All right, sorry about that. I'm back. Just had to grab some coffee. All right, so okay, so now the problem I see with that is, how are you going to keep track of it? Is it a global list that everybody can see, or is this a list for you as an individual person that you want to be able to go to and check things off? My fear is that you're thinking about this. I can see that you're thinking it through, but my fear is that you're thinking about it in not the right timeline, if that makes sense. Okay. So if you want to first have a UI that you can go to and just check things off of, that is something that is very doable. And then we can work on that and then build a way to persist the lists to individual users afterward and grow from there. Okay. Now, how would you envision these sessions to go? Like, would you want them to be live streamed so that you can follow along and go with it? Or do you want it to be pre-recorded so it's more fact-based and more pre-thought? Because my only thing here is, with I have no problem doing it live stream off the cuff. That's actually kind of a fun thing for me to do. I love doing that. But at the same time, I'd like to meet your needs here. So would how would you like this to be? Do you want to keep it as a live stream session where it's like each day, or I'll come on and we'll build this to-do list thing together in like maybe hour and a half, 2 hour sessions, or like do you want me to do this in smaller little standalone videos that are pre-recorded where I sort of hyper focus on giving you the facts about how each thing is done? Okay, so sort of like what I'm doing for this one. Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea. Again, for anybody that's watching this later that's missing the live chat, I don't know if the live chat's going to be showing. My new buddy Key is pumping out some great ideas about doing a video series going forward from here, working on a to-do list. Something very simple that junior devs can get their feet wet with. Hell yeah, dude. That sounds like a great idea. I actually really like that idea. That actually kind of gets me excited. Like I have ideas going and everything, and it's like, yeah. And see, I actually had that fear when I was starting the Midnight Technician. Was I wanted something that was basic enough that this is what you're going to be getting your hands into when you get into, um, say, landing your first junior developer role. This is the sort of like enterprise production ready programs you'll get your hands on. That was sort of my vision with the Midnight Technician, was making it be this thing that was, I wanted to keep it basic, but I want to say, when I say basic, I mean basic as in I'm picturing somebody who's got like 4 to 5 years experience with Java as a base, and they're looking to like get into it, and get into like enterprise and production ready stuff. That was kind of my thought process around the Midnight Technician. I originally wanted to get into writing basic videos and be like, this is a string, this is what it is, these are the different variables, there's differences between, say, strings, chars, and this, that, and the other thing, and the differences between arrays, lists, and collections, and I wanted to get into those, but I I felt like there was a lot of videos out there that already did that, um, and that there was nothing out there that was near production enterprise level capacity for people to get their hands wet with. Because when I was looking around at other open source projects get inspiration from, um, I started to notice that there was things like the Landon Hotel, which was good for teaching people some, a lot, like a bit of security, because there was people, um, that and there was another program, sorry, that Spring Boot, or the Spring Framework team, maintains the Spring Pet Clinic, which is also great for teaching people some security and some best practices. But it was as if there wasn't something that would teach you the different pieces of tech that's involved, like messaging queues and the logistics of microservice communication, and so I wanted, and there usually was only things that showed you one database, like say Postgres. but there wasn't something that would show you non-SQL databases like Mongo, so I wanted to include that as well. And so there was a lot of things that I wanted to include, and I realized that the Midnight Technician went very quickly from a basic program to an enterprise program very quickly. But I still tried to keep it as basic as I could for people that want to just get their hands wet and sort of get a feel for the experience. So I'm probably going to be wrapping up the Midnight Technician this weekend or today, because there's not really a lot left that I can do for it, unless other people would happen to maybe ask me how a certain thing is done or why a certain thing is done, and I can elaborate using it as an example. But the Midnight Technician may be finally finished after today. And we will, from here, we'll start going on to, I don't know, we'll keep it midnight themed, since we're all midnight coders here, and we'll call this maybe we'll make the next thing into the midnight to-dos. Midnight to-do list, or the midnight list. Sorry about that, I missed a little bit of chat. Whoa, okay. 1 second here. If you would like my streams to be a little bit longer on the weekends, I'm all for that. I'm perfectly fine with doing about an hour and a half to 2 hours easy on a weekend. Would you prefer the weekday streams to be a little bit shorter, like maybe an hour? Oh, I'm all for again, I'm all for doing longer streams on the weekend. Maybe a little bit more like unplanned streams on the weekend. And I can keep my weekday streams to being somewhere between an hour to an hour and a half, and that way I can also chop them up during the week and make some highlight videos like I've been doing already. It's actually really exciting. I'm kind of excited to work on this now. What kind of time do I got here? I got about a half an hour or so before my wife wakes up and I start my weekend day, but yeah, I will oh, this is such a great idea. I really appreciate that idea, man. This is going to be fun. If you have any other ideas or thoughts on this key, by all means, please send me a message on Discord with any sort of additional like ideas or thoughts that you have about a to-do list, and I'll reach out to you after the stream, and we'll collaborate a little bit and talk about maybe a little bit of a roadmap so that my first live stream with it isn't too much off the cuff. And I guess on that note, I guess I'm gonna wrap this. I guess I'm gonna wrap this live stream up, because there's not a lot left to there's not a lot left to do to the actual Midnight Technician program, other than just a couple of little like personal OCD touch-ups. I'm really excited to get started on this next idea about the to-do list. I think it's going to be great. And we'll start small. We'll take it easy. We'll build things right from a blank project. I'll walk through creating it as an absolute blank project, and we'll go through getting it done basic locally, and then I'll expand into how to then push your project to GitHub so that you can include Git with it. So I think last time I had everything set up and going when I did this project, and I don't think I walked through the beginning steps and whatnot. But yeah, tomorrow honestly, I was on the fence about what I wanted to do tomorrow for anything, but thank you, Key. I super appreciate that idea. That's a great idea. We'll start up the midnight to-do list tomorrow. This is going to be pretty hyped. I'm going to see if I can get some fun thumbnails done up and some artwork done up for it, and yeah. I do agree we are going to need better music, but at the same time, the only stuff I could find was like a lot of it was just like this like background instrumental stuff. If you happen to know of a website that lets me download MP3s that are completely copyright free and royalty free so that YouTube doesn't disapprove, I'm all ears for new music, because this is also not what I generally listen to when I code. The music that I got, I took right off of the YouTube Studios acceptable list. So it was all music that could be played without having any kind of infraction or copyright issue with my channel. But yeah, it's definitely very backgroundy, and I realize it's rather low. Yeah, that's not the best audio choices. I'll try to get some better audio for tomorrow. But with that, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap this live stream up. If you'd like to reach out and collaborate with with ideas about the to-do list, by all means, I am in the Discord. I'll probably be jumping into a voice chat later on today. Key, I'll be reaching out to you in DMs through Discord. We'll talk a little bit more. I kind of keep the volume low in my background so that I'm not... If I was listening to it at like full volume, it's kind of weird for me to talk. Like, it feels kind of weird for me to be able to talk and not hear myself talk, so then like I need it slightly lower in the background if I'm doing something like this. But if I'm just chilling, if you happen to see me in a voice chat, chances are I've got music going and it's a little bit louder. And if you just jump into the voice chat with me and watch my stream, you can listen to music with me without having the restrictions that I got on YouTube. But yeah, if you want to actually just sort of, you want to chill with me and just watch me code random projects, by all means. I wish I could just put on my regular music while I code, but I do that, or I did that before, but I need music that YouTube won't flag me for. But again, if you want to join me on Discord, I'm in there. If you see me in a voice chat, just jump in with me. You can keep yourself muted. You don't have to. You don't have to talk. If you just want to lurk and watch, you can watch my stream, which will be my whatever I'm working on, and I'll have music going. That's actual music, not this. I'm actually just going to turn that off because that's just, I don't even know what that is. But usually I just spin up my Discord app or my Spotify app, and I ask my my DJ to get me a random good mix to go on. So if you can, if you want to chill with me in Discord, there's no copyright in there, so I've got music going all day, every day that I'm in there. Feel free to just jump in, watch my stream, listen to some tunes with me, vibe along as I code and write random stuff. I'm going to be picking at some personal projects today while I brainstorm and plan this to-do list that we're going to be doing tomorrow, and I'm a little hyped for it. So if you want to, yeah, I know I need to encourage more people to watch me on YouTube than Discord, but I know I I'd like to have music going when I code, but I don't like being told I can't listen to my music. Anyway, if you're gonna be around tomorrow, we're gonna start a brand new series tomorrow with a to-do list where we will get a very, very simple to-do web page going up where um, we will evolve over time and make it into something magical yet basic. So keep your curiosity full, or wow, okay. Let's try that again. Keep your curiosity open, your coffee cup full, and your skills sharp. And I'll catch you in the next one, guys.